Hey there, this is goal setting part one. This is Unpacking 2023. And it doesn't matter what year you're watching this or if you're already into 2024, it is never too late to set those goals to get us on the trajectory that we want. So, we're going to be unpacking 2023 to help us understand where we've been, where we're heading, and where we want to head. So, when we deconstruct 2023, we're able to build this better scaffolding for 2024 or any year that you're planning for. So when we deconstruct or unpack a year, we're not searching for excuses. We are searching for learning and observations that we can then use to make 2024 stronger than ever. So today I'm going to bring out one of my favorite tools that you see behind me. And I'm going to ask you, let's be real. Let's get curious and let's dissect our patterns of behavior, because if we can identify those patterns, we can level up on planning, on implementing, and ultimately creating new habits that we need to be able to step into a life that we are desiring. So, you ready to be real? Are you ready to deep dive into 2023 and see what golden nuggets are there? Well, what are you waiting for? Let's do this. Unpacking 2023 is going to help set us up to be more powerful and intentional about focusing on some goals that are really going to make a difference in our life. What I want to ask you is, what do you want your life to look like in the future? Where are you heading? What do you want for the future you? They might be saying, wait, I thought we were unpacking 2023. Oh, yeah, we're going to do that. But it reminds me of a story when I was in driver's ed in high school. And I remember it was 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm getting my driver's training in with my instructor. And he kept saying, where are your eyes looking? And I said, well, they're on the road. He said, where on the road? I said, well, I'm looking just right over the hood of the car. And he said, that's why you're swerving back and forth. I said, I'm swerving? He said, yes. He said, I want you to look far down the road, because that way you have a better idea of where you're heading. You can go straighter, but also you can see obstacles before they're on top of you. And that is an amazing analogy for our life. We've got to be able to look down the road. We've got to be able to see in the future so that we can see those obstacles that are coming at us. But really, if we don't have a target, what are we aiming for, right? Now, some of you might say, well, wait, I don't have an idea of where my future person is going to be. But that's okay, because today, when we unpack using the tool that I have, you're going to come up with some ideas and you go, oh, whoa, I have a better idea of where I want to be in the future. And why is that important? It's because that future person, I want you to envision, what is a day like in their life? What is their schedule? What do they eat? What are their thoughts? Who are the people they hang out with? What are the routines that they have? What are the habits that they have? If that is truly the life that we desire, then we need to incorporate and establish and have those same sorts of habits and step into literally living that life as if it were ours already. Goals and resolutions can be fun, but really what I'm interested in, and maybe you are too, is I want to set goals for the year that move me towards the direction of my destiny. And that's where I want to focus my time and energy. I can add some fun things. And yes, we have to have that fun stuff. But I want to make sure that I'm not missing out on the opportunity to create some habits and some focus where it'll have some incredible impact in my life. Whether we do things or don't do things, time is going to pass anyway. So why not incorporate some of those things while you can? Because a year from now, what will you be glad you had set as a goal? Kind of a litmus test for a goal is 5 years from now, what will you be glad you set as a goal and did? Or what will you be glad you set as a goal and didn't do? It all affects our future self. So in part one, we're going to unpack 2023. We're going to learn from what happened, our experiences, what did or didn't happen that you were expecting. And then in part 2, episode number 85, I have an amazing acronym that's going to help us incorporate those habits to be able to step into those and make them truly the lifestyle that we foresee for our future self, but have it be in our daily life. Kind of exciting. So let me pull out my favorite tool that I love. It's here right behind me. And you're probably familiar with the wheel of life. And for those who are just listening to this and can't really see the diagram, it is a circle with 10 spokes. And in each one of those 10 spokes, there is a category. Now, imagine the middle of the wheel is a 0. And going out along those spikes is the very end is a 10, a value of 10. What you're going to do is kind of rank yourself in those 10 different areas. Now you can put any areas you want, but I've got 10 that I think are pretty powerful that help us get a kind of a pretty good view of 2023. So you can either draw your own diagram, or what's kind of exciting is I have a free PDF for you. Just look in the show notes. Not only does it have the wheel, it has 50 deep dive questions, 5 in each one of those areas of the spokes that you can use, and some brainstorming handouts, not only for this episode 84, but also for episode 85. Totally free if you decide you want to use it. But I am going to mention what those are in case you want to draw it for yourself. In just a second, I'll mention what those 10 different areas are, but how you will work with a wheel of life is after you've asked yourself some questions, and in the PDF, I have very specific ones for each one of the categories. But then from there, you're going to rank yourself from 0 to 10, and you put a little dot or a star or a cross where you hit in that continuum. So in relationships, do I feel like I'm an 8? Do I feel like I'm a 6? You'll go all the way around. So let's go that far, and then I'll show you how to interpret your wheel of life. Now, what I love about this tool is visual, and it's a symbolic message to the brain. And when we accurately portray how we really feel about these different categories, you can then extrapolate out, wow, here's my opportunities to become more well-rounded. Now, you can do things a couple different ways. If you decide to order the PDF, one of the things that you can do is you can journal out answers to every one of those 50 questions. I know for me, when I'm goal planning, I need to be quiet. I need to be alone. I don't want anyone around me because I want to be alone with my thoughts. And for some of us that love to really journal, if you were to answer every one of those 50 questions, you would have a beautiful kind of a synopsis of what 2023 really was like. Now, here's the great thing. If you don't love journaling, all you need to do is read through questions or answer the couple questions I'm going to give you in just a minute for each one of those categories. And then just kind of write down some bullet notes, like the quick little blurb of whatever comes to your mind. When we are able to get curious, not judgmental, but when we just kind of look at the information of why we didn't accomplish something or what got in the way, not pointing fingers and saying, well, I would have accomplished it if it hadn't been for them, or hadn't been for them, but really looking at what was my own responses to things. Where did I see that I needed to pivot or course correct? Or even when things were outside of my control, how did I react? And are there those learnings that we can take from even what we think is a failure? And of course, it's only a failure if we don't learn from it. So back to those that don't absolutely love to do complete journaling. Just reading questions and writing a few bullet notes off to the side. That will give you enough information to not only evaluate, but then when you go back to goal set, it's like, yeah, that's why that category is a little bit lower. I noted that, etc. It's kind of like if you're familiar with Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, it's a little bit of detective work, and it's so exciting because when we can figure out, oh, here and here and here, these are kind of some of the same reasons why I didn't follow through with a goal. Could it be that I was just going along with everything else that everybody else was doing, but I really wasn't vested in it? Was my why not strong enough? So when gale force winds or it was inconvenient, I was like, forget this. Or did I go off the wagon a couple times, days in a row? I was like, what the heck? Never mind. I've already blown it. So why even go forward with it? Do we see those patterns that we can now identify as predictable? When I fell, it's usually because of this. And remember, failure is only a failure if we fail to learn. And that's what's so cool, is we can get uber curious about how we react to life. And then we can use that information to change things up a little bit. But the same thing with the successes. Why was I successful with that? What did I do? Why did I follow through? When we can emotionally go into why we succeeded in some things and why we didn't, holy cow, that is your gold mine. That's worth every second that you can sit down and do some evaluation. When you're gold mining, those learnings and those paradigm shifts are the ones that are good as gold. Fool's gold is when we point the fingers every place else and say, wasn't my fault. I couldn't help it. Nobody did this for me. When we go into victim mode, that's when we're mining the fool's gold. So let me throw out a couple questions for you to be thinking about, and then I'm going to give you the 10 categories so that you can write your own wheel or just get the free PDF, and then you've got the deep dive that you can go into. Okay, first of all, what were the successes? What did you do, and why do you feel that they were successes for you? Really look at it from lots of different angles. What were your disappointments? Why were they disappointing? And what did you do or not do that contributed to those not being the successes that you had desired? And what were the goals that you had set for yourself that didn't result in what you anticipated? Looking back on that, what would you have changed? Would that not have even been a goal that you had, or would you have set yourself up to succeed in lots of different ways? What got in the way of achieving that goal? But be realistic. Evaluate the time you invested, the heart you invested, the resources you invested, or was there a place that you needed to be to make that more successful? What are you learning from this? And it isn't about blaming others, other people, but it's about rethinking, what did we not anticipate? And now looking back, you wish you would have put in place to have made 2023 more successful. And then, is that a goal that you're going to reset for 2024? Or is there something better in mind? Now, I want to interject in here the successes. Take a moment and really rejoice in your heart. Now, what that does is that tells the brain, oh, this is how we get a dopamine hit. There's always a reward. When there's a reward, we actually follow through more. Now, I go to the gym every morning, and there's some days when I have that dopamine hit from working out or lifting or whatever. But some days I don't have that dopamine hit. But I have instituted now, like, I get in the car and I just kind of shout to myself, I showed up. I showed up. And I get kind of excited about the fact I followed through. So take a moment and really rejoice with those successes and congratulate yourself. And let your brain record in its synapses that happiness, the success, the feeling of accomplishment, etc., that you had from 2023. Okay, now let's go into the 10 categories. There are many that you can put, but I just feel like these really touch on the things that we need to kind of power plan for 2024. The first is relationships. That's relationships not only with your family, immediate family, distant family. It can be your neighbors. It can be your work environment. It can be in school environment. It can be the community. So really look at what worked, what didn't. Could I put in more work someplace else? What was my communication like, etc. The second area is your health, fitness, and wellness. How did you prioritize your health and wellness? Are there some things that you added in or should have added in? Or now you're at the point where it's imperative that I do add this in. And it's not only your physical health, remember, it's your mental and emotional health. What are those practices that you did do or desire to do? The next one is career and education. What accomplishments are you most proud of? How did you handle the challenges or the failures? Did you invest in continuous learning of some sort? The fourth is financial well-being. How are you working on your debt ratio? Are you able to find different ways to creatively come up with income, etc.? The sixth is your personal development. What were the key lessons that you learned about yourself last year? Did you push yourself out of your comfort zone? Have you incorporated self-care, etc.? How did you handle setbacks? The sixth one is hobbies and leisure. Did you add in a balance of fun and joy with the responsibilities that you had? How did you manage like screen time and different things like that? How did you strike a balance between productivity and leisure? Seventh one is adaptability and resilience. How did you handle unexpected changes and uncertainties? Boy, that is an area that we all need to have bolstered up, right? Especially after the last couple of years. Were there situations where you needed to be flexible and adaptable, and how did you do with that? Number 8 is your personal values, your beliefs, and your ethics. How true were you to your core values in the decision making that you had? Do you have a spiritual practice that brings you peace and harmony that you can tap into? Number 9, time management. How did we spend that precious resource of time? What kind of tools and things did you do to stay organized and on task and focused? And number 10, goal setting and achievement. Which goals did you successfully achieve? Did you hang in there the entire year? And how did you celebrate that? And did your goals evolve and change during the year? And did we track our goals? Okay, so after you go through and you evaluate in these 10 areas, and you've rate from 0 to 10 where you hit wherever that little X is, now draw a line from that one to the next category, the next and next and next. And what you're going to be doing is you're drawing a wheel of sorts following where you had ranked yourself on that life wheel. Now, when you look at that life wheel, let's say that was a bicycle tire. Where do you have a flat tire? Where is that area that, oh man, if I want to become well-rounded, what area would I need to bolster? And you can look at that and go, oh, wow, maybe that's an area where I need to set a goal. And maybe that goal is to be able to get help in that area because I obviously kind of floundered there. Or circumstances came up where I didn't know how to pivot, or I didn't know how to course correct. And looking back on it, that's exactly what I probably should have done. So I love that visual representation and kind of a snapshot of the balance that I have in my life, or the lack of balance I have in my life. And this is a judgment-free zone. We're not here to show it to others and feel bad. We're here to look at that and go, oh, this information, this gold mining is for me. It's for my information. What are those patterns that I continually repeat? What are those things, that patterns that really work for me? And where are the ones that, like, man, if I could eradicate those or change them or create a different habit, I'm going to be unstoppable in 2024. So how many goals should you be setting? I always figure the fewer you focus on, you can give more time and energy and resources to that. I want to end the year knowing that the ones that meant the most are the ones that I was able to give the most to. And sometimes those ones that I desire to give or desire to set as a goal aren't necessarily the ones that I need to set, because maybe my family needs me more, or maybe my occupation needs me more. But I still am a firm believer there's got to be something fun in there, something. And literally in personal growth, my fun is my dance class. And yes, I'm twice the age of most in my class, and I may not look like the instructor, but I'm there and I'm filling my soul. And what that does when I have some joy, it helps me with the ones that have a little more resistance and I have to kind of prod myself to do. But then when I do them, I congratulate myself every time so that I teach my brain, There's our endorphin hit. Now, when I say I want you to be really realistic, let me give you an example of a goal that I wasn't super successful with last year and some of the things that I've been able to evaluate. So, this is kind of what you would do. So, one of my goals was to eat squeaky clean. I mean, we're talking no sugar, no breads, very little processed food. And for the most part, I accomplished some of that. I have to say 60%. But when I evaluate that, I really didn't set myself up to succeed because I knew the kinds of things that my family liked to eat that maybe weren't on my goal. And I had those things in my house, but because I knew where they were hidden, I was the one that was eating them. And because I didn't prep my food in advance, there wasn't always the healthiest of choices. There were healthy choices, but not the healthiest of choices that I grabbed. And I had told myself that within that goal that I was going to learn how to prepare meals with more whole foods. Well, it's time intensive, right? And I didn't really put aside the time for me to prep for my food, to cook those foods that took a little bit more time. And therefore, I was scrambling a lot of the time. So I was sporadic at best. So what did I learn? For me to succeed in that, I have to have a plan and I have to prep. I've got to be able to have things ready for me. I can't leave by chance, get up in the morning and say, what have I got in the house that I can eat? I have to be very specific with the foods that I'm going to put in my mouth. If I truly want to eat clean, does that mean that if I fall off the wagon and eat sugar for a day or two, which happened many, many times? No, I have to get back on the wagon. And sometimes we think, okay, if I'm not following through, I'm just going to give up. Forget this. No, we have to just get back on the wagon the next day. Not following through with a habit isn't ruined by 1 or 2 days of not doing it. It's not getting back on that ruins the habit. So what I've learned is I will prep my food. I will prepare in advance. I will take some classes and I have to schedule those in and search those out to find out where those are, whether they be online or in person. I need my meal plans several weeks in advance. I need things that I can grab and put in my purse as I'm running around so I'm not at the mercy of commercial food out there. So I've seen what I need to change. What you're not going to hear me say is, well, it would have been different if I would have had kids that would eat differently, or if that had been different, or if the whole food places I like eat at were closer to my home, etc. We have to take responsibility. We have to own up to our own stuff. And there's no shame in that. The only failure in life is when we learn something and we turn our back on it and we say, oh, well, I'm not going to learn from it. That's when we fail to understand what we're here on earth for is progression. And progression has, just like a heartbeat, has the ups and downs and ups and downs. But if we go down, if we get back up, that's what it's all about, right? So take a moment before you set any goals and first unpack, dissect 2023. If you use a visual wheel and get that visual view of your life, it's going to help you see a perspective that you don't get if you're just like, okay, I'm just going to do a health goal and an emotional goal, and that's it. Really look at your life from a lot of different directions and say, okay, what's my vision for me in the future? What is that person like? What do they think? What are the habits that they have? And look at your wheel and say, okay, is this in alignment with where I want to go? And if it isn't, then take the opportunity to go, oh, for 2024, I see some obvious places that I'm going to set a goal, and I'm going to find that why so that I can be passionate about it. And it won't be one of those that I just like, end of January, kind of nice, but no. If that happens to you, you know what you do? Get back in your wheel and set a goal that you know you can be committed to, but one that will have an impact on your life. Next show, episode number 85, I have a formula. It's called Spark. That when we apply that to our goals, it sets us up to have the habits that we need, and with some fail-safe things that you can do to really make sure that 2024, more goals than ever that you set with passion happen. Isn't that what we want? I realize that we are creators. We create the life that we want. It isn't happenstance. And I'm excited about this goal planning stage right now before we hit the brand new year. 2024 can be as glorious as we want it to be. Will there be some things that'll come up that we don't anticipate? Yes. When we plan, when we prep, when we record and do a lot of things that you're going to learn about next show, the speed bumps, the obstacles that come at us don't affect us as much as they could. It's exciting. I cannot wait for you to hear the next show. Grab your handouts below if that'll help, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.